Okay, so welcome everyone to Sunday Poetry, continuing in our never-ending haiku workshop. So let's see what we've got today. Okay, so everyone's seeing this first one? Good. All right. Swinging in the hammock between grass and sky, my eyes close. Swinging in the hammock between grass and sky, my eyes close. Okay, how's this working for you? Is the situation clear? We always start with that most fundamental, simple question. Is this simple on the literal level? Do we know what's going on?
Yes, been there.
Yes. Good. We, we've been there. Yeah. We're swinging in the hammock. There's the grass, there's the sky, right? So what else? Is it conveying the experience vividly? You feel like you're seeing? Does it make you see with your inner eye? Don't think, look. This is not a thing to think about. Either when you heard it, either you got images in your mind or you didn't. How many people got images? Yeah, sure. Me too. Simple image, but there it is, vivid. I was seeing that grass very green, that sky very blue. No one had to tell me that the grass was green or the sky was blue. How about the language that's being used to convey it? Is the language appropriate for haiku, would you say?
Yes.
Yes. Why?
Am I the only person that has to answer this?
Well, you're the only person who is so far. I don't know what's going on with the rest of these characters.
I'm sure that there's some English major that can get into the haiku
Yeah. Okay. So
besides me.
yeah, yeah. So what's up with the language here? What makes it appropriate? Come on, everyone should be able to say this in unison in one word. What's the foremost quality of language that we like to see in a haiku and which we do see here? It is
Simple.
simple. Thank you. Come on, you knew that, didn't you? Come on. Don't make me do all the work. It's simple. It's straightforward. It's plain. It's unelaborated. And by the way, it's Anglo-Saxon, right? It's Anglo-Saxon. It's not a bunch of fancy French or Latin derived words. It's not multisyllable. Oh, except you know what's the only non you know what's the one non-Anglo-Saxon derived word here? Better than Anglo-Saxon, more primitive than Anglo-Saxon. Hammock. Hammock comes from one of the Native American languages because the Indians invented it. Now,
Don't you mean Native Americans?
didn't I say that? I said that. And then I
You
said
said,
Indians. And then I said Indians. Do you know any Indians? You know what they mostly say? They say Indians.
know that. Yes, true.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Now, what's another thing we're looking for? Is it immediate? Is it all happening in the moment?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Okay. Good. And is there some sense of kensho, some sense of it opening to the something bigger, the sense of opening to transcendence, which would normally happen in the first line or the third line? Is that happening?
Meditative sense of some sort,
Say it again, Lulu.
kind of a meditative state.
Yeah, where does it happen? Just
Eyes
very
closed.
simply, where does it happen? Yeah, my eyes close. Third line, right? We're swinging in the hammock. We're seeing the grass. We're seeing the sky. We're seeing the grass. We're seeing the sky, which is lovely. But then we close our eyes to go beyond that. Yeah, yeah. And I
It's
think, yeah, go ahead.
so this is my haiku,
Hmm.
but it's interesting because at first I had, well, there's two things. I was going to say green grass
Right.
because that would give it springtime,
Hmm.
versus for so many of us, grass is brown now, but in this
Hmm.
case, it was green grass. But then I edited the green out and just kept it simple. But
Yeah.
initially, I said, I close my eyes.
Hmm.
And in thinking about it over
Mm.
and over, um, that felt like it removed the immediacy of the experience and made, whereas just my eyes closed, it's something that just happened.
It just happens. You don't do it, it does you. Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful. Two excellent editing choices. Taking out the green because unless you say brown grass or dry grass or something, I think we see green grass. We see it as green. And again, I keep saying this. Anything you can make the reader see without your having to explicitly say it is magical, right? That's a magic trick. How did how did this how did this holograph get set off in my mind, right? This holographic image, right? She didn't even say green, and I'm seeing green. That's that's the way you do it. And your second choice there, my eyes close rather than I close my eyes. It's just like it just overcomes you. You just have, you're swinging back and forth. You're being lulled. The sky is so expansive. The grass is so, green. That green color. I was just sitting out just before this, sitting out in my backyard. Where there's a lot of green. A couple of you have been there, and it's just like bathing your whole nervous system in that. And then oh, just gotta the eyes just close. Yeah, yeah, that's great. It's great. Yep, that works. Good. And also short. There's no fat here. There's nothing we can take out. Simple situation. And something else. It is an ordinary situation.
Mm.
I don't know if I've emphasized this enough. We There's a tendency, and I would find this a lot with working when I taught high school, and when I'd have my students writing a story or writing a poem or any kind of creative writing as opposed to essay writing. They always wanted to do the extraordinary thing. If they were going to write a story, it would always be about the time I you know scored the home run that won the tournament for our team and I was the hero, whatever, the extraordinary moment of your life, right? Extraordinary moments are bullshit. They don't help us because they're extraordinary, that they're out of the fabric, the regular fabric of life. What we need, and what haiku aims at, is the ordinary. Show us the fulfillment that we're looking for, the transcendence we're looking for, the infinitude, the bliss, the kensho that we're looking for is there in the ordinary. That it's there in a rock, it's there in a coffee cup, because if it's there in swinging in a hammock. Because if we can only get it when we hit the winning home run, then that means most of the time we have to walk around without it. So that's true in general of writing. You know, the great writers, mostly they're going to write about the ordinary things, but they're going to, you know, William Blake, right? To see, wait a minute, I want to quote this right. I actually happen to have this on my screen. Hang on.
See eternity in a grain of sand.
Yeah. Hold on.
And heaven in a wildflower.
Yeah. Let me get this in front of you all, though, because this is,
Yeah, I don't think I have it quite right.
yeah, because this is the, yeah, this is the our sacred text here in the English language. This is Blake. Are you seeing the Blake? No, you're still seeing your haiku. Okay, I got to go the long way around. Okay, you're seeing this now?
Yes.
Yes. To see a world in a grain of sand and a heaven in a wildflower, hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour. Right? That's what we're doing. That's the mission statement. That's our mission statement as haiku poets, as writers generally, and as dharma dogs, as meditation practitioners. Right? You know, why a grain of sand? Why a wildflower? Because they're completely ordinary. But the whole world, or the whole world, and the whole heaven, the heaven that you're looking for, through the most extraordinary means, is there in the ordinary, in the flow. But how do you see it? This tells us how to do it. You have to hold it in the palm of your hand. You have to hold it close.
Mm.
You have to hold it close, right? And that means really see clearly, not just, oh, it's over there. Here's a whole hill full of wildflowers. Yeah, I see them. No, take one wildflower, hold it close. Hold infinity in the palm of your hand, eternity in our. So you take a wildflower, take a grain of sand, take a gum wrapper, take anything and hold it in the palm of your hand, or just look at the palm of your hand, right? And really look at that, right? For how long? Well, for eternity. Eternity. Fortunately, eternity is not what people think. People think eternity is, oh, millions and millions and millions and millions of years. No, you've experienced eternity. Eternity means no time, not millions of years. That's just a bunch of time. Eternity is no time. You've experienced eternity whenever you fall out of time. You know, when we do a meditation and at the end you go, God, how long was that? Was that long? Was that 5 minutes? Was that an hour? That's because you slipped into eternity. When you're really enjoying something, right? Time flies when you're having fun. You know, you put your headphones on, you're dancing, you're whatever, you're just having a wonderful, close, intimate heart-to-heart conversation with someone you love, you're whatever, and just like time goes away. Or you're just out in the puttering around in the garden, right? Time goes away. That's eternity. So hang out there till eternity reveals itself to you again. And in the light of that eternity, look at the thing, whatever the thing is, and it gets revealed as a world, as a heaven. That's what we're trying to convey in the haiku. We take something close up. So we take some ordinary thing, the grain of sand, the wildflower, close up, really look at it. No long shots. Well, actually, sometimes I take that back. Sometimes haiku is going to do long shot. Sometimes they're going to contrast the long shot and the close up. But it's looking with that clarity, with that focus. Okay, is that making sense to you?
Oh, yeah.
Good. Okay. So let's go back to this. Okay. So, next one. There is nothing but God's love. Air skims my nostrils. I think I'm pregnant. There is nothing but God's love. Air skims my nostrils. I think I'm pregnant. Okay, what's the first question we ask? Is the basic situation clear? Okay, is it? Cynthia, you have something to say.
Um, I almost think I'm imagining hearing someone say there's nothing but God's love in church, and a breeze goes by and she thinks she's pregnant, but that's a reach. So I'm confused by there is nothing but God's love.
Yeah,
But I think it's beautiful.
there are quote marks around it. This is
Right.
interesting. Something very
It's
interesting is
very,
going on here, but
it is. It's
I'm
beautiful.
not sure what. I'm not sure what.
Mhm.
There are, for what it's worth, there are quote marks around that, suggesting that it's something that someone is saying,
Great.
that a character is saying. In other words, it's not being stated by the poet, but it's being stated by a character within the poem. But who's saying it? Where are we? I'm not sure.
The the last line, I think I'm pregnant.
Hmm.
It's it's not definitive.
Hmm.
It it kind of makes it confuses me. Now,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge thing to say. I think I'm pregnant. It's one thing to say I'm pregnant. It's another thing to say I think I'm pregnant. I mean,
Yeah.
is that good? Is that bad? Is that that's like loaded.
Yeah. And loaded means, to hark back to our conversation a couple of minutes ago, loaded means extraordinary. The moment that you think, oh, I think I'm pregnant, that's an extraordinary moment in your life. It's not an ordinary moment. So in terms of the choice of the situation here, we're already on thin ice. It doesn't mean this situation can't work, but it means it's going to be trickier to make it work.
If you take I think from the last sentence, if
Yeah,
you take I think out
yeah,
and just I am pregnant, to
yeah.
me, that would mean that whoever wrote this is experiencing the God's love within.
Is that concrete, or is there some concept involved in what you just said, Lulu? Is it concrete, or is it, or is there any conceptualization involved in what you just said? Is there any thinking involved? If you
No,
if
not for me.
if you stop thinking about it, if you don't think about it, is it there? Can you see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, or touch it?
Oh yeah,
You can?
I can.
Yeah, well, good. but, but you're unusual in that case. And it's going to be hard for you to convey that on paper to people who are to the rest of us who are more usual, right?
What's so unusual about it?
What I think, Lulu, for me, um, I would love to be able to say that there is nothing but God's love.
Hmm.
God's love is everything, but that, unfortunately, for me, that's not a tangible. It's not a reality for me. I think for some people it might be, but for me, it's not.
Yeah, I want to pick up, Lisa, on the word that you just used, tangible. I think that, let's just assume for the moment that for a given person, for some person, God's love is an absolutely undeniable present fact of life in each moment, right? You feel God's love wherever you go. Feel it no matter what's going on. But, okay, but is it tangible? Let's be very strict. What does the word tangible mean? Tangible means you feel it with the sense of touch. It's tactile, right? We got these 5 words: tangible, tactile, audible, visible, olfactory, gustatory, right? The 5 senses, right? I mean, you have the great writing from the great mystics like you know, Saint John of the Cross. You know, if you read the Dark Night of the Soul, right? Noche Oscura, dark night. Which, by the way, most people use that phrase 180 degrees wrong. They say, oh, he's going through the dark night of the soul, meaning he's going through a time of great doubt and depression and despair. When you read, and I really recommend this, The Dark Night of the Soul, and you can get it in a bilingual edition, which is really cool. It's the Spanish on the one page and the English on the facing page. The Spanish is beautiful. The Dark Night of the Soul is about the great mystical experience. You know, it's night in terms of all the stuff out here, the stuff of the 5 senses, the stuff that everyone else sees, right? And it's about, you know, Saint John of the Cross, his direct experience of God, of God's love. And you read that and you can, you know, Yehudit, like you were saying before about the humidity in Louisiana, you can cut it with a knife. But all the great mystics, like St. John of the Cross, say it's not anything that can be apprehended by the regular 5 senses, right? It can't be apprehended by the 5 senses, which is why when, you know, someone who experiences God's love all the time tries to convey it to other people, they, you know, a lot of people will just look at you funny. Right? They just look at you like you're crazy. What the hell are you talking about? I don't see that. I don't hear it, smell it, taste it, touch it. So what we generally have to do, and certainly what we have to do in haiku, is we have to find something that can be apprehended by one of the 5 senses, and then break it open to reveal the intangible inside of it. Break it open somehow with our penetrating vision. This is exactly what Blake was saying. He didn't say, hold God's love, you know, to see heaven in a God's love, to see, in a wildflower, the grain of sand. There's the concrete, tangible thing. So we have to, you know, put a tangible thing in our hand and present it to our reader in such a way that they feel compelled to look at it, and then it opens up into the intangible, the transcendent. Right? Swinging on a hammock. Right?
I think if air was focused on more, it's the one concrete thing here. Is,
yes.
Air and nostrils.
Yes.
I think that's well, it's trying to convey a breathing through the nose. And so, as the admitted author of this, I was trying to convey that the air felt like God's love. And then I found the last line humorous because that's what came to me. And I know it's kind of a melodramatic saying that we have in various, you know, stories. And also because I'm a guy, so that kind of also made it funny for me.
Right.
So there's a lot of context missing.
Yeah.
And it's something that I need to work on because it's been an issue in my writing for, you know, ever since I started. I'd hand someone a story, and then they'd read it and like, yeah, you know, but it's missing so much. And
Right.
And this time I thought maybe they'll get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the air, just.
Yeah.
I mean, look at all the stuff going on, but
Here's the thing I used to say.
Surrounding the air.
Here's the
Anyways,
thing. Here's the thing I used to say over and over to my students: put yourself in the reader's shoes.
Yeah.
Put yourself in the reader's shoes. It's very hard to look at the thing fresh. Look at it like you're not the writer, like you've never seen it before. You don't know anything. Yeah, as you said, see, you put your finger on it a minute ago. You said, well, for me, there's a lot of context here. But the
Yeah.
reader isn't getting all that context.
No.
Unless, when you publish this thing, for every reader into whose home a copy goes, you're going to go knock on their door and explain it to them. Well, you see, this was the time, and then I thought that was funny, right? It's not going to work. You have to make
Yeah.
it work on its own terms,
Yeah.
right? Right? Now, we're just playing here a little bit. We're not going to try to get an alternate version of a finished haiku here, but just to poke and prod a few things here. If you really wanted to do a thing about a person thinking they're pregnant, you'd want to do that in a way that works for one of the five senses. They're looking at the stick, the pregnancy test. Is the thing is turned pink or it's turned blue or whatever the hell it does, right? What did you have in mind here with the first line? Was there someone? Were you imagining someone saying this?
It's a quote from a book, and I, like you said, imagine the reader. And I was imagining that the reader could discern from the quotes that it doesn't really matter where it's coming from, but it's coming from somewhere outside of the perspective.
Yeah.
And it's not a very new phrase. I believe this phrase is repeated in various forms all
Yeah,
throughout the world.
It's a beautiful phrase, but it's not concrete. This is not something for haiku.
Yeah.
This is not.
Yeah.
This, you know what, Tejas? This is a very good exercise for you in particular, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I've known you for a while now, and I can feel how healthy this is going to be good for you. I want you to, for next time, I want you to write the simplest,
Yeah.
most straightforward. We were last night. Did any of you see the PBS, the the series recently on Hemingway?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yaf and I just sat down to watch that last night. And it was fun because, Yaffa used to work for Florentine Films for Ken Burns' outfit. So all the people that worked on that film, she knows them. And we actually just wrote this to them this morning to congratulate them because it was so beautiful. But there you had young Hemingway first emerging as a writer and going through all the confusion of the war, all this horrible conflict with his family, and his father commits suicide and all that, and his marital conflicts, and trying to get hold of what to do and what to do as a writer. And what he comes up with, he says, okay, just write one true sentence, right? Sounds simple. It is simple. Simple, but not necessarily easy. One true sentence. Not a clever sentence, not an evocative sentence, not an enlightened, transcendent sentence, a true sentence, right? The coffee cup is in my hand. That's a true sentence, right? I mean, what I would suggest you do, Tejas, look around the room or the space, wherever you are. Find a physical object, something you're apprehending through one or more of your five senses. Write a true sentence about it. And then come up with another one, right? Don't write anything else till you come up with a second true sentence, right? And then a third one. Don't all the thinking, all your book learning, all your wonderful insights, all the deep conversations that you've had with friends and teachers over the years. God bless. Park that all out on the doorstep for now. Write one true, simple sentence that anyone that can read basic English will read that and know exactly what you're talking about with zero context. Okay, I'm giving you this homework. I know how good this is going to be for you. Okay? Okay? And then you write one true sentence and then another, and then another. Do 3 in a row, and that will, no matter what those 3 sentences are, if they're all about what's going on in the room and they're all true sentences, that'll be more of a haiku than this very interesting thing that we have here. You see what I'm saying? And what can you sense what a healthy exercise that's going to be?
Yeah.
It's very bracing. It's very clarifying.
Yeah.
Right? True sentence and using Anglo-Saxon words, declarative words. Right? Right? That, by the way, some time back, remember I read to you all the opening of Hemingway's A Farewell to Arms. And this Hemingway PBS doc starts with that, and it starts with his handwritten manuscript, only you can see it with the crossouts. You can see his revision process, which I had never seen before. For me, that was thrilling. And, because it doesn't just drop off the tree like that. You keep working it until it looks like it dropped off the tree like that. To get it that simple. In the late summer of that year, we lived in a village by the river, and the currents ran, and the boulders were white in the river, or whatever it is, and just Anglo-Saxon, nouns, 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 short, short, plain, plain, true, true, true. We got to move on. Along the sandy beach, my heart skips a beat. Sea turtle. Along the sandy beach, my heart skips a beat. Sea turtle. Okay, we see the situation? The situation is clear, yeah. Is the language nice and simple and straightforward? Yeah, good
Yeah.
plain Anglo-Saxon English. All right? One little tweak I would do is one piece of punctuation. I would put a colon, or better yet, I would put a dash at the end of the second line there. Because sea turtle is clearly, that's the epiphany moment. We want it set off a little bit. What else about this one?
And I guess what occurs to me is you just said that sea turtle was the epiphany, but it seems to me that the experience is my heart skipping a beat. So it seemed along the same
Interesting.
beach, sea turtle, my heart skips a beat. That's just occurred to me.
Yeah, see, now I like what you're doing, which is at least try that. At least try that. Along the sandy beach, sea turtle, my heart skips a beat. Yeah, I think that could work too. They're a little different. I think maybe they could both work.
Like the Kensho moment, that sense. If that, comes in the third line, and I know it's not rules.
Yeah, but they're general principles, and they're there for a reason. Well, actually, it's a very interesting thing here. Very interesting thing you've brought up. Because one thing is the perception, the experience of the object that sets off the response. And then the other thing, my heart skips a beat, is the response.
Mm-hmm.
Which one do we want to leave the reader with? In a funny way, something analogous to it. I've sometimes, over the years, done some moonlighting as an audiobook narrator. And I remember reading once in like a forum for narrators, one narrator, I think, was new at it, asking the question, when I read something that's very moving and I feel choked up, should I leave that in, or should I redo it, edit that out? Right? Should I be giving the reader or the listener my tears? Should I be sharing my tears? And I forget what the answer was in the forum, but I know what my answer was because I had dealt with that. I'd had stuff that made me start to weep while I was in the middle of reading it. And my answer was, no, don't give us your tears. Give us the thing that made you burst into tears. And then let us burst into tears if we're going to. I remember I was reading this thing about, and it was a true story. A guy driving somewhere, and his car goes off the bridge, and his child is in there, and the child drowns. I mean, it was just brutal. And you know, when you're narrating audiobook, you're supposed to pre-read everything, but I hadn't done my homework, so I was just reading this thing cold, and suddenly I'm reading this thing, and I just start weeping, and I know, no, that's not going to work. The listener doesn't need to hear me weep. They need to see it straight, see it plain. You know, the child drowns, and then, you know, let them weep their own tears, not see mine secondhand. So, in that sense, you see what I'm talking about here? The sea turtle is the thing that precipitates the response. My heart skipping a beat is the response. So, I think I would tend to go with, well, let's put the sea turtle in the third line, but yeah,
Yeah,
no, it's
yeah,
not absolute.
I think I like it in the third line because, I mean, your point aside, I'm not sure about my heart skips a beat because then but it's like my heart skips a beat. Oh, what is it? And then it's sea
Yes.
turtle.
And then you leave us with that. That's what we got. Oh, we end with the sea turtle. That's the sea turtle is now the grain of sand in the palm of our hand. That's what we want to be left with. Now, here's one more question on this one, then we got to move on. Is it literally true that your heart skips a beat?
I knew
Or is,
you were going to say that.
yeah, or is that an expression?
An expression, I
It,
think.
it's an it's an expression. It's an
Right.
expression. If your heart skips a beat, see a cardiologist.
That's right.
Okay, okay, yeah, it's an expression, and it's an expression you've heard a lot, which is what we call a cliche, and those are death. Cliches are death. But it's profound life if you see it for what. Anytime you find yourself writing a cliche, what you have to do is look deeper. What's my actual experience? Or anytime you have something figurative like this, it's not literally true. What's literally, what did I actually experience that I'm trying to express by saying my heart skips a beat? And then give us that, you know. And possibly, in terms of haiku, you don't need that at all. If you can somehow present the sea turtle objectively in a really skillful way, you know, I don't know what it is, the following the trail of water behind it or the sunlight gleaming off of it or something, then you don't need to describe your response at all. Then that you don't need any equivalent of my heart skips a beat. We'll get that, and it'll be more miraculous if you just elicit that in us without trying to describe it. I don't know off the top of my head how I would try to do that here, but that's what I would encourage you to do, because this has the makings of a really, really lovely haiku. Okay, do you see what I'm saying there?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. Let's move on. Cyclone opened again. Sun, heat, water, cockroach runs. Okay. Cyclone opened again. Sun, heat, water, cockroach runs. Okay, is it clear what's going on?
Oh, yeah.
Is it? What's going on?
Yeah.
Just like in Louisiana, except over there it's a hurricane.
Well, so this is about an actual cyclone? This is not a figure of speech? Is that everyone's assumption?
It was
Yeah.
mine.
Yeah, okay.
And maybe it's coming, well, this was my sense is cyclone opened again. So they had been in the eye of the storm, and then it opened. Because that was an
Actually, that word open, the verb tense there is problematic because haiku, okay, we've said this before, haiku should be in the present tense with very rare exceptions. The whole idea is you're giving us the present moment. You're giving us the present moment. It's a snapshot. It's not a movie. It's not a novel. See, and can you see how that makes it immediate?
Mhm.
Okay. Cyclone opens again. Sun, heat, water. Where are we?
We're in a cyclone
Yeah, but where? Are we inside? Are we outside? Are we on the sidewalk?
Outside.
outside.
No.
Sun, water.
Yeah. What's the water? What kind of water is this? Is it
Rain.
rain? Is it rain?
Yes, rain.
Okay, if it's rain, I would say rain. That's going to be much clearer, isn't it?
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm just playing here because this is really interesting, and I want to see what. That word opens. It's bothering me a little bit. It's. Is that what a cyclone does? Is it open? Is it? And I was thinking, what's the verb that we need? And what I realized, wait, we don't need any verb.
Mm.
Cyclone. Cyclone. That's it. There's a cyclone. Cyclone is present. It's like calling roll. Slider, here. Walford, here. Cyclone, here. Right? Cyclone, sun, heat, rain.
The cyclone is really a condition. We don't really see it. We see the rain. We
Yeah,
feel the heat. It's
yeah,
just
yeah.
a declaration
But if we take it out,
vibing
I mean,
of
there's a certain intensity of sun and heat and rain that comes with a cyclone. Whoops, that's that we're going to lose without that word. I want to say something, cockroach runs across the sidewalk or something, right? I mean, it's. I'm just playing here.
The the distinction between this massive cyclone and this little cockroach is
Yeah, that's really nice. That's really
yeah.
nice. We talk about that's a dynamic that really works in haiku, having the big and the little, the macro and the micro, and the connection between the two. So I like that a lot. Can you see that if we have the cockroach run across the sidewalk or under a bush or whatever it is, it makes it more concrete. Suddenly the
Yeah.
thing becomes much more in focus. It's much more like we're watching a movie rather than hearing ideas, right?
What about just the cockroach runs across?
Across, because that's completely confusing to me. Across what? The word across, that's a preposition that needs to refer to something. Across something.
Oh,
Across
Yeah, it helps
something.
to establish where in the outdoors, like, are you out in the plains? Are you on a street in a
Yeah.
neighborhood?
Yeah. So a word, the sidewalk, the field, the rock is going to that one detail here is going to set the whole scene. Otherwise, the setting's kind of vague. Okay, but yeah, very interesting situation. A lot of good stuff here. Okay, one more. Okay, above the loquat trees, telephone wires slice the sky. Above the loquat trees, telephone wires slice the sky.
I can see it, and
Mm-hmm.
the me when we started all of this 3 months ago would have said, wow. And now that I'm getting a little more perceptive,
right?
wires can't actually slice the sky.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
it's the metaphor
It's not,
that's,
yeah. Yeah, it's not 100% literal. Let's come back to that in a minute. First, let's look at the image. Is the image working for you?
Yeah.
The image is clear. The situation is clear. Is it making you see something?
Yeah.
Is there a sense of some expansiveness, some transcendence, some kensho?
A bit. I think it's missing a little extra,
Yeah,
but the sky is the last sentence.
yeah. The sky, which is expansive, right?
I think what I have issue with is how the second line just becomes the third, and for me there's no real separation between the two other than the line break.
That's okay. That's
That's okay?
that's okay. That's okay. Some of them are going to work that way. That's what's called technically in poetry. That's called, here's a word that tells you I've been to college. Enjambment. Enjambment. Enjambment is a fancy word for in a poem when the syntax of one line runs into the next. It's the syntax is incomplete until you get to the next line.
Yeah.
And you can do that in poetry generally, and you can do that in haiku. Sometimes
Oh,
it's called
yeah,
for.
yeah.
Especially in this case, I would say the syntax is continuous, but then where it takes us to is something very different,
Yeah.
something non-continuous. It takes us from telephone wires, which is very well, literally very linear and very kind of harsh and something that we'd rather not be there, to sky, which is expansive and beautiful and eternal.
Hmm.
Now, so coming back to this word, slice, is there another way to say that that's more literal? What would it
Cut.
be? I'm sorry?
Dissect.
Tejas, what did you say?
I said cut, but that's just another.
Yeah, that's the same, essentially same as, yeah. And in fact, if those were the only two words we had to choose between, okay, this is like tune in now, really tune in. If the only choices we had in this specific situation are cut the sky or slice the sky, which works better?
Right.
Okay, we have one vote for cut.
I like slice better.
I like cut.
Yeah. Okay. I like slice. That doesn't mean it's the right answer, but I'm going to tell you why I like slice. Because it sounds like, it's got those twos. It sounds like slicing.
Right.
It sounds like slicing. And a slice is more like linear. It's more like a cut could be like, right, like this, whereas a slice is like this. And that's what the telephone wires do. They cross the sky. Right. Now, if we wanted a more literal word, we could say cross the sky.
yeah, cross.
That would work.
I like that a lot more. I think that even clears up my issue with enjambment there. Suddenly, I have no problem with this.
No. Yeah. But it's still no. The enjambment is still there.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no reason to have an issue with enjambment with the one word and not the other. Let's be clear. It's still exactly the same amount of enjambment.
For whatever reason, the enjambment for me was that we were talking about Kensho, or the sort of little moment of enlightenment, or whatever you want to.
Right.
The enjambment was taking that away from me, because it felt like that the sky wasn't being given its space. It was part of the other sentence. But now I'm noticing that by changing the word choice, I actually feel like this works.
Okay.
That my issue disappears.
Okay. All right. We have to end in a minute. Let me just say quickly, I don't personally, I don't understand why the one should fix the issue and the other shouldn't, but so it goes. Also, just if you know, maybe go back to the book. This would be a good time now. We've all been spending several weeks writing our own. Go back to the haiku anthology, which most of you have, and read some of the others, and I think you will see them in a very different way now, having tried to do it yourself. You will be very much more tuned in to what those people are doing, and see what things they feel free to do and what things they don't, and so forth. One thing you'll find is that some of them do make use a certain amount of language that's not 100% literal. But you really have to know what you're doing to do it. Personally, I like the slice here because I like the idea that in the second line that it's as if the sky's being sliced up, you know. The technology didn't have to be this. When they first started putting up these telephone wires 100 years ago, they could have buried them in the ground. But they chose to do this, and I think people from more than 100 years ago, if they realize, mostly I think we don't see telephone wires. We're so acclimated to them. But I think, if you had someone, time traveler, come from, say, 150 years ago and walk around here and go, geez, this really sucks. Everywhere I look, I want a clear view of the sky. I got these damn telephone wires slicing up my view, right? So in the second line, you got that. And then in the third line, with the sky by itself, it's as if the wholeness of the sky somehow survives that slicing process, right? It's as if it be, just the fact of it being set by itself in the third line, it's as if it's in some way it's still there. The wholeness is still there. And by the way, I love the word loquat. Just love that word. Okay? Okay. I'm not sure if I'll be able to meet next week because of just stuff going on. So watch your just check the newsletter when it comes on Tuesday morning. That'll say we're meeting or say we're skipping. Okay.
Thank you, Dean.
Thank you. Thanks for playing.
You, bye.
See you around.